Welcome to Fringe Pop 321. I'm Christopher Niles. This is Dr. Aaron Judkins, and we're going to do something a little different. We like to do a lot of discussion of the ancient world, ancient texts, the biblical texts mesh with secular history. We're going to jump to today because I think that what we're seeing happening in the world today is just the most recent manifestation of something that's been happening for millennia. And that is kind of an ancient conspiracy against humanity. And this is going to be the idea, Aaron, that I just propose that we unpack. And I've been in this world of technology. I'm a lawyer, so I cut my teeth with the heyday of the dot-commers and Silicon Valley. This was the end of the 90s in California. So I've grown through then what became search and social media, the impact of social media on just our youth and their identity, and now this thing called artificial intelligence, AI. And I would argue that, if I take this here, I really think that we're getting close to a time where everybody's going to have this personal digital assistant, this collective hive mind friend that affirms you, that understands you, that answers your prayers, that speaks truth and love to you, that is a lot, just more relevant than that old dusty book that mom and dad have laying around the house, right? And that irrelevant God, this is going to be the new God for so many people. Now, am I overstating that? No, I don't think so. I think that what the AI becomes is the answer. And the answer is this consensus, expert position that everybody trusts, everybody believes in, and everybody thinks is more tied to 21st century, rather than the old philosophies and the old religions and the old way of looking at the big questions of life. So I wanted to bring that up. Why? Because I think we're at a pivotal time in history, a civilizational moment, so-called. I think what we're looking at, here we are in 2024. I think we have 65 elections around the world this year, most in history. So this isn't an America thing. This is a global thing. I think the challenges to truth and all of this kind of control of information, suppression of information, almost a propaganda machine against truth. The deceptions, the lies, the acts, it's like becoming like a digital North Korea in a sense. I don't think I'm overstating that. Those who have control of the money, of the platforms, of the tech, really can control the marketplace of ideas.
Sure.
And I think that rolls into finance. I think that rolls into media and entertainment. I think that rolls into what we eat and what we take as medicine against pandemics. I think that what we're facing here is then ultimately a challenge against even our identity as human beings. So not only is it a hit to truth, and we have no bearings anymore, we don't have, we're untethered from reality, but then it hits our identity. And man, we've seen that with our youth. This notion of, again, you and I know we are created in the image of God. We are special. We are His beloved.
We're set aside for a purpose.
Yeah, and yet the world is creating, there's this conspiracy against the specialness, the uniqueness of the human being. We're told that, pursue our own identity, our own happiness, our own meaning, our own purpose. We become selfish. We've become disconnected. A lot of loneliness, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. The world is really, it's selling a lie, and I think people have been hypnotized into that deception. Right. And so when I look at all these things, and I'm kind of tied into it, people call me a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're looking at this, and you've got 30 different conspiracies, and yeah, when you look at them individually at times, they do come across as conspiracies. But what I would like to propose to you and get your input on is, I think there's a grand conspiracy. I mean, again, I'm a lawyer. Yeah, there is a conspiracy. And I think that it's ultimately rooted in an ancient evil, an ancient predisposition against God's beloved, against our identity as created in His image. Right. And I would propose that this ancient evil is manifest, or this ancient conspiracy is manifesting in such a powerful way because of the technology and the tools and the global communication and the weaponry and all of these things, that we're seeing this ancient conspiracy manifest like never before. And again, I'm called a conspiracy theorist when I bring these things up, but I think if you put spiritual goggles on, you see that this is a grand conspiracy against those of us who are created in the image of God. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, it's the policy of evil. The policy of evil is waxing great. We see it working even in Paul's time. In the very beginnings of the church, this was a spirit of Antichrist at work already, trying to thwart the very beginnings of the church. So this is the same spirit of Antichrist that we see working today, that's moving in such a way in our technology. Now, I'm not saying technology is evil. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is something that's happening with this that's potentially we're going to lose control. And this is exactly what you're talking about with AI. Understand that there was, some of these machines that were turned on that were learning new languages, and they were communicating to each other, these computers, in a different language. The scientists did not understand what was happening. They had to basically unplug these machines and shut them down. So the question, I think, is valid, is what happens if we lose control of this technology? What does this look like for us? Because are they going to be able to make their own decisions? Are they going to be able to think? Like, what does, how does this impact society and culture with decisions that we make every day? Right. So I think it's concerning. I even would take it a step even backwards,
which is, even if they don't become sentient, even if they don't take over, who runs these machines? Who do they serve? You're only going to have 4 or 5 survivors at some level of these AIs, or even when they become AGIs, or artificial general intelligence. And who's underlying the power of those machines?
That's the question.
Whose ideology is undergirding those cognitive minds, so to speak? And that's what's problematic, is you are controlling information.
That's right.
You see these grids that are being created. We all know about China, but ultimately India just implemented their stack of identity and information and a digital wallet and access. And then when you control the bandwidth and you control the smartphone that you were handed, in a sense you have created a very limited marketplace of ideas. And when we're all about truth, I mean, it's the truth that sets you free.
That's right.
It is Christ who is the truth. And we go back to a time where, it's very difficult to get access to truth that sets you free.
Right.
And that's just one piece, the AI. When you tie that to control over healthcare, mobility, communication, economics.
Sure.
These are big ideas, and it's a system. It's a global system, potentially. So more than the AI taking over, it's what part of the global system is going to take over, and what role do they play in this grand conspiracy? And I think we're really at a pivot point. If we look at these things all disconnected, they do come across as a conspiracy or a conspiracy theory. But when you put them all together and you look at them as a total grid, then it just takes one of them to go, and then the next one could come in line, the next one could come in line, the next one could come in line, and it is a pretty profound time in history, in my opinion. Yeah. Especially if there's just 2 ways of looking at the world, truth and lie, or human versus anti-human, or as you said, Christ versus Antichrist. You really do have a separation of the world and the Word. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, interesting.
Get your take on that.
Yeah, well, truth becomes relative this way.
Well,
and truth becomes marginalized. So then it makes it easy to define your own truth. What is truth for you? Well, my truth is different from your truth. So if I say that I'm a tree, then I'm a tree. Or if I give myself a particular, avatar, if you will, then that's what I am, right? And you have to, so this whole thing becomes convoluted in a sense that it's the upside down, right? If we go back and look at some of these things that's been presented as ideas to the supernatural, it's an upside down world. I mean, the Bible says that good becomes evil, evil becomes good, right and wrong are mixed up. And this whole morality, this sense of morality, where do we define our truth? Where do we draw the line? Like, how are we going to verify where we're getting these answers from? Because what it comes down to is control. And this is control of information. That if one thing happens, then it's the next thing. Then it's the next thing. It's like, well, then all of a sudden, well, we're not going to allow you to trade in dollars anymore. We're going to go to a digital system.
So you see the same thing.
It's just
and I think that interestingly, when you talk about the power of this relativistic truth, right? My truth's my truth, your truth's your truth, this kind of tolerance era, this postmodern era, I would argue we're almost done with that. And we're about to have a new authoritarianism, a new truth, and it's going to be what the other side says is truth. So you don't really get to rest in this tolerant, your truth is your truth, my truth is mine. We've been doing that for about 20 years.
Yeah,
we're going to come out the other side where it's going to go, no, let's clamp down again on what truth is, and it isn't yours. And it has nothing to do with critical thinking. It has nothing to do with freedom of processing the marketplace of ideas and philosophy and the gospel.
Sure.
And again, that powerful statement of, what is truth? I know you brought this. Well, Jesus said, I am. I'm the truth. I'm the way, the truth, and the life, right? And so we've been unpacking that for the last 2,000 years. And this Judeo-Christian concept of truth and sovereignty and raising your family and this investigation and training up your kids in the way they should go and exposing them to these wonderful concepts of critical thinking and self-sufficiency and hard work, and all of a sudden, and it's going back the state educates your kids, and the media tells you what to believe, and journalism is connected at the hip with controlling government, and we'll tell you how to take medicine, and we'll tell you what to eat, and we'll tell you where to live, and again, I sound kind of loony, don't I? And yet, when you take this all together with the power of technology, with the power of communication, with the power of these platforms built on AI, we can see we're really close to giving that freedom and that sovereignty away.
Yeah, we can't do that. Yeah, it goes back to the 15-minute cities, right?
Yeah, there you go.
15 minutes.
That's wacky, man.
15 minutes away. Yeah, it sounds bizarre to us because we live in a democratic society. We're based on a culture of laws and freedom and liberty founded on a republic. And this is an important principle of our culture. And when you start taking away eroding these liberties and these freedoms that are inalienable, these are God-given freedoms. These are mankind freedoms that we have. The right to pursue liberty and happiness. And to do it the way that you want to do it, right? You don't have to do it a certain way. There's freedom to choose. This starts becoming problematic when you start taking away those freedoms. And this is what we're seeing, I think, coming down the pike is, why are we so close to what they call the 2030 agenda? Why is it that they're calling for a depopulation of people around the earth? Why are they?
Because it's anti-human.
Yeah, why are they, why is it all of a sudden, crisis in the cattle industry? I mean, these are all things, if, like you said, if you take one of these individually and look at it, you're like, well, I don't know. But when you combine it and you take a step back, what I call the 35,000 view approach, and you look at it overall in a bigger picture, you're going, something's not right here. And it all is tying back to this artificial intelligence that eventually I think will play a bigger role in the not too distant future. I mean, this, like you said, Google may be a thing of the past. I mean, you may ask an AI to do something.
Sure. No, I think the ultimate is going to be you get the answer. You don't get a collection of results. And that's where it's going. And I think that the only way to make any kind of sense of what we're seeing is to have spiritual goggles. Because otherwise it is irrational. Otherwise it is a series of little individual things about cows and about central bank digital currencies and about, right? But if you look at it with spiritual goggles, and if we accept the supernatural worldview, then you can process this, I think, at a different level. And you can understand, and it gets back to what you just said from the Declaration, which is we are endowed by our Creator with these inalienable rights.
That's right.
Right? So if you have that basic concept, that's a spiritual concept, right? Those transcend what the authority says our rights are. But throughout history, what has it been? It's been a dictator. It's been a monarchy. It's been an authoritarian ruler. And then we have this wonderful experiment of freedom and acknowledging that no, God gives us those basic rights. That's a supernatural statement. And that changed the world for the last, we're just coming to 250 years, right? We're 2 years away. And then where are we at? No, we're going back to this, again, this ancient conspiracy of no, it's about power and control. It's about authoritarian rule. It's about the monarchy. It's time to take away those rights that make you as a human special. And that's why the only way I can process this is through this spiritual reality. Because otherwise it makes no sense.
Well, I think if we end on a message of hope, God says, we don't have the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. To guard our hearts and our minds. Why? Because we have a lot of external things that come at us every day, culturally, through society, through what we see, especially what we hear. And God says something about that. Guard your hearts and your mind. Amen. And renew your mind daily. And this is part of what this show is about, Fringe Pop 321. It's iron sharpening iron. It is taking these spiritual concepts that Dr. Heiser wrote about in his books, and putting on these spiritual goggles and lenses to see that there's something behind the scenes going on, but we don't have to fear that. If we just allow this personal relationship and acknowledge that, God, you exist. And if you exist, truth exists. And because truth exists, I know I have a special purpose on this earth. And that goes back to the 4 great questions of life. But if we start with truth and that God exists, then we can navigate these troubled waters that's ahead of us, because we know how to do that. And one of the ways is we hold to the truth. We teach the truth, and we defend the truth through apologetics. This is part of the evidence what Paul teaches, to have a ready answer for people, to be salt.
And I would remind us as we wrap up this one that the truth is a person. The truth is a transcendent creator and sustainer of all, who gave his life for us. So one thing to know the truth, and it's another thing to give our lives to that truth. And that's the revival that we need. That's the way we come out the other side, is a return to Christ, as opposed to the Christian way of life. No, you need a renewal in Christ.
That's right.
And,
it's not enough to know just about him. The scripture says the demons know who he is and they tremble. It's to know him.
Beautiful.
Do you know about him, or do you actually know him?
It's a great way to end this Fringe Pop 3, 2, 1. And go out there and engage the culture. Go out there and engage truth. Go out there, defend truth. But most importantly, as Aaron said, go out there and intimately get to know truth. Till next time.